Bayern Munich had 75,000 fans behind them. Harry Kane with 55 goals on the season, the most attacking team in Germany. And Paris Saint-Germain ended their Champions League dream before most people had even sat down. 3 minutes, that's all it took. PSG versus Bayern Munich. Champions League semi-final second leg. The first game a 5-4 thriller that broke the internet. 9 goals, pure chaos. One of the greatest matches in UCL history. So when they met again in Munich, everyone expected round 2. Another goal fest. Another war. Instead, PSG showed up and did something nobody saw coming. They defended. And that is the story nobody is telling. Let's set the scene. The Allianz Arena is loud. I mean genuinely hostile loud. The kind of atmosphere that gets into players' heads. Bayern had momentum. They were Bundesliga champions. They'd scored 116 goals in 32 league games. That's not a team, that's a machine. And they had Harry Kane, a man who, at this point in the season, had scored 55 goals in all competitions. 14 of those in 13 Champions League games alone. Let that sink in. 14 goals in 13 UCL games. The man is basically unstoppable, and Bayern's plan was simple: press high, suffocate PSG early, get Kane a goal in the first 20 minutes, and let the Allianz Arena do the rest. Clean, logical, dangerous. There was just one problem. Kvaratskhelia was on the pitch. 2 minutes, 20 seconds. That's not even enough time to get comfortable in your seat. Fabian Ruiz plays a perfectly weighted pass over Bayern's defensive line, not flashy, just precise, and suddenly, Khvicha Kvaratskhelia is in behind. Now, if you don't know Kvaratskhelia, imagine giving a Ferrari the dribbling ability of peak Messi and the hunger of someone who has something to prove every single game. That's him. He accelerates down the left wing. One Bayern defender tries to recover too slow. Another tucks in too late. And then, low cross. Perfect weight, perfect timing. Ousmane Dembélé doesn't even have to think. He just sweeps it home. Under Neuer, into the net. 1-0 PSG. And just like that, Bayern don't need 1 goal anymore. They need 3. In their own stadium. Against the Champions League holders. In 3 minutes, Luis Enrique had completely rewritten the script. The crowd went quiet for a second. And in that silence, you could feel something shift. Here's where this story gets really interesting. Because what happened next wasn't what anyone predicted. PSG, the team that conceded 4 goals in Paris last week, suddenly turned into a fortress. Think about that. The most attacking side in Europe. The team that plays like they're allergic to defending. They just sat in, organized, disciplined, ready to absorb everything Bayern threw at them. And let me explain how they did it, because it's actually beautiful. Imagine a nightclub with a VIP area. Bayern could get into the club all they wanted. Plenty of possession, plenty of movement. They were walking through the front door with no problem. But the VIP area? The penalty box? The danger zone? Marquinhos and Pacho owned that. And nobody was getting past them without a stamp on the wrist. Kane, 55 goals, barely touched the ball in meaningful positions for 90 minutes. Musiala, one of the most technically gifted players on earth, was spinning in circles looking for pockets of space that simply didn't exist. Olise Electric all season found himself isolated, with no one to connect to. Bayern had the ball, Bayern had the pressure, Bayern had the crowd. They just couldn't find the door. But then, here's your first mini bombshell. Bayern's biggest problem wasn't PSG's defense. It was their own goalkeeper, Manuel Neuer. A legend. An absolute icon of the game. One of the greatest goalkeepers in football history. But in 2026, against a side that presses as high and as aggressively as PSG, Neuer became a liability. Every time Bayern played back to him under pressure, his long balls were either out of play or straight back to a PSG shirt. He was basically gifting them possession over and over again. One pundit put it perfectly, and I couldn't say it better myself. Neuer was turning every PSG pressing sequence into a free turnover. That's not a small thing. That's a structural collapse happening in real time. And Kompany, brilliant in so many ways, kept picking him anyway. Two legs. Same problem. No solution. But wait, because the real breaking point? It wasn't Neuer. It was one moment in the second half that I can't stop thinking about. Jamal Musiala, 22 years old. One of the most naturally gifted footballers on the planet. The kind of player where you watch him and think, yeah, this kid is going to win everything. And there he is, inside the PSG box. Space in front of him, defender beaten, goal gaping. He doesn't shoot. He hesitates. The chance is gone. Now, I'm not here to destroy Musiala. He's had an incredible season. But that moment, in a Champions League semi-final second leg, when your team needs a miracle, that hesitation is the difference between legends and nearly men. And Bayern paid the price for it. 94th minute. The game is dying. Bayern fans know it. The players know it. The whole world watching knows it. And then, because football is cruel and poetic in equal measure, Harry Kane creates space from absolutely nowhere. He spins his marker. One touch. Shoots. Pass Safonov. Into the net. 1-1. The Allianz Arena erupts. For about 4 seconds. And then silence again. Because it's too late. PSG are through. 6-5 on aggregate. Bayern are out. 55 goals for Kane this season. The Bundesliga title, the German Cup, and no Champions League final. Again, football, man. Sometimes the sport just looks you in the eye and breaks your heart on purpose. Okay, quick tactical section. Stay with me. This is important, and I'll make it simple. Bayern's plan was built on one thing: press high, win the ball back quickly, and overwhelm PSG with pace and numbers going forward. It works brilliantly against almost everyone. Bayern scored 116 goals this season using exactly that system. The issue? PSG have a cheat code for it. Their cheat code is called Kvaratskhelia. Here's why that matters tactically. When you press high as a team, you leave space behind your defensive line. It's a calculated risk. The bet is we win the ball before they exploit the space. But Kvaratskhelia is so fast, so direct, and so impossible to pin down in 1v1s that the second PSG won the ball anywhere in midfield, he became a threat behind the defense immediately. Bayern couldn't press and cover him at the same time. Impossible. So they were stuck. Press and risk getting burned in behind. Drop deep and give PSG time on the ball. Luis Enrique saw that dilemma from the first leg. He game-planned for it perfectly. And then there's the Neuer problem, which I'll keep simple. In 2026, if your goalkeeper can't play under pressure with his feet, your build-up is broken before it starts. Full stop. Right. Opinions. Real ones. Let's go. Kompany got this wrong. Not everything but the Neuer decision, across both legs. That's a manager putting reputation over pragmatism. Bayern had another keeper, Jonas Urbig. Younger, more comfortable with his feet. You have to be brave enough to make that call at this level. Kompany wasn't, and it cost him. Luis Enrique, on the other hand, is doing something quietly extraordinary. Everyone talks about Guardiola. Everyone talks about Ancelotti. But this man just won the Champions League last year, and is one game away from defending it by adapting his team's identity mid-series. First leg, attack. Second leg, defend. Most coaches can't do one of those things at elite level. He does both. And Kvaratskhelia? I'll say it clearly. Right now. In this moment. In this tournament, he is the best winger on the planet. Not top 5. Not top 3. The best. And if you disagree, I genuinely want you to tell me who's better in the comments, because I'm open to the debate. But you're going to have to show me someone who does what he does, the way he does it, at this level. I'll be waiting. So what does this all mean? PSG are going to Budapest. They face Arsenal on May 30, and Bayern Munich go home having played some of the most entertaining football in Champions League history and having nothing to show for it. That's the brutal reality of this sport. You can score 116 goals in a season. You can have the best striker in the world. You can have a stadium full of believers and a manager who refuses to compromise his identity. And still one pass, one run, one goal in 3 minutes, and it's over. PSG didn't just beat Bayern Munich over 2 legs. They exposed something uncomfortable about how Bayern are built. And before the final, Arsenal should be watching this tape very carefully. Because if Kvaratskhelia plays like he did tonight in Budapest, honestly, I don't know who stops him. If you enjoyed this breakdown, share it with someone who watched that game and thought it was just about goals. There was so much more happening. And if you want the PSG versus Arsenal final breakdown, full tactical preview the moment that drops, it's going live on this channel. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you there.